Hi,
Hello.
I'm Julian.
And I am Tom.
We are Team Binge. We are here to talk about the year 2025. We are in between shows currently, and we were having a discussion about what we watched last year, and we figured we'd discuss it on pod and go through some of the shows that we enjoyed but didn't pod on. Tom, it's not a chore to do this show, but it is definitely a chore to look back on a year and try to figure out all of the TV you watched. And I don't know, while you were doing this exercise, if you realized how many shows you started and quit on. But I don't like to think of myself as a quitter, Tom, but I'm definitely a quitter. And the person that most affects in my life is my wife, who is furious because I'll be like, oh, didn't we watch that? And she'll be like, no, you quit on it. And I'm like, okay, well, please don't yell at me. But
I was thinking about that too, because we talked about what we wanted to do. So we'll talk through like shows we enjoyed last year, shows we bailed on, and then just kind of comfort shows. Like, I generally don't bail on shows. Like, I've got a couple on this list that we can kind of talk through, but usually if my wife and I start something, we're going to finish it. We're not quitters like you and your spouse.
Well, listen, my wife should come join you guys because out of the four of us, I'm the quitter. And I honestly stopped writing down the ones I quit on because I was like, if I just watch the pilot of a show, is that quitting? Or am I just giving the pilot of a show?
Yeah.
It's rare for me to like take on multiple episodes and bounce unless the show is just super dark and I'm like, I don't need this darkness in my life right now. But the majority of them were like, we watched pilots because you and I talked about, hey, maybe we want to pod on this show. And then it was like, no, or yes, or however it came out. But I definitely felt a little bit bad for the shows that I attempted or tried and then got out on. But Tom, what I'm very curious in is there a ton of shows last year. I don't know that I would consider it like a marquee TV year, but there were definitely some shows I enjoyed, and so I want to talk through them. I also want to think like, were there shows that you went back and thought about and you're like, oh, I wish we would have potted on that because it would have been fun just to talk through. But I figure we start at shows we enjoyed last year, and I will give the floor to you. And just, did you have, did you have a top one, or did you have one that you wanted to talk through first?
I didn't put these in any necessarily order in terms of my favorites to least favorite.
All mine are tied for number one, Tom. All mine are tied for number one.
I mean, like you had mentioned, I think the difficult part of this exercise is, I mean, my wife and I watch a lot of television. We put our kid down, and we've got 2 hours before we go to bed to watch
have a kid, Tom?
shows. We got a kid. Yeah, 7-year-old. Had him for about 7 years.
Incredible.
But like going back and trying to think about what shows I did watch, I think was the challenge. So I had to cheat from the internet a little bit, say like top shows, and then, okay, which ones of these did I watch? And I mean, one that comes to mind that I just watched recently, and I'm a bit late to the party on this one, is, I'll give you the tagline for the show. You can tell me if you can figure it out.
All right, I like guessing.
A realistic examination of the challenges facing healthcare workers in America as seen through the lens of the frontline heroes working in a modern-day hospital in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Do you know what that show is?
You went back and you rewatched every episode of ER or Scrubs. Scrubs. Final answer, Scrubs, Tom. The hit show of 2025, Scrubs.
No, but I'm referring to, of course, The Pit from HBO. And this was one like I saw that it came out. I saw that a lot of people liked it, and I'm just like, it's a medical drama. Like, I mean, it's been done 1,000 different times. Like, I don't think I'm really going to enjoy this. But I just kept hearing things about it. I think Noah Wyle finally got his Emmy or whatever for this show.
Sure.
And it was, my wife and I just recently binged it a couple weeks ago, and it was phenomenal. Like,
really?
It's just very different from a lot of medical dramas that I feel like I watched like in the past. Again, not that I do a lot of them nowadays, but the pacing of the show, the chaos. I've actually talked to a close friend of mine that is in this line of work in terms of emergency medicine. And he was kind of saying, like, obviously certain parts of it are dramatized and a bit dramatic, but like so much of the medicine and what they're doing in these emergency rooms is all like real and true, the chaos of it all. And a lot of the cool like character dynamics are really great. Like Noah Wyle kind of runs the hospital or this like specific shift. And of course, the way the show is shot, it's like each hour of the episode is an hour in the shift.
Oh,
so the entire season is just one shift. and they've got like newbies that just came on and it's like their first day. So kind of hazing them and teaching them. It's like a teaching hospital. It's all just a lot. And for me, it was like the most binge-worthy show of the year, and was so glad we were able to just watch them all like back to back to back. And then I think season 2 literally just dropped the other day. So couldn't recommend this one enough. The Pit from HBO.
The Pit from HBO. I have not seen it. So the way you described it being an hour of the shift, we're not like going to their, I was going to say New York apartments, but you said Pittsburgh. So we're not going to their Pittsburgh apartments and like McDreamy's showing up or anything like that. It's it's not the outside world. It's all inside the hospital.
Yeah, but there are some McDreamy doctors inside the hospital. So you will not be disappointed.
Pulling me back in. Now, Tom, as a guy that I'm a big fan of Eastern medicine, I'm assuming this show mainly focuses on Western medicine, which I am against. Do they align anyone's chakras? Like if someone's missing an arm and they've got to put it back, do they use chakras or do they use like lame Western medicine, Tom?
I don't think so yet, but I mean, season 2 just started, so maybe they'll explore that side of the medicine trade.
I'm a big fan of hypnosis, especially when it comes to amputations and surgery. Tom, let me ask you this. How gruesome is it? Is it like, does it, as a guy that sometimes gets queasy or like feels like shows might go over the top sometime, like am I going to be able to work through it in the Pit?
I mean, there are some gruesome parts for sure. Like it doesn't like celebrate it. Like I think it's just trying to just show the realism of like what they do and what these doctors have to do, of like cutting open chests so people can breathe properly or fixing a foot that's been completely mangled. Like there are definitely some pretty brutal parts, but it's not played for gore or anything else. I think it's just showing you what these daily heroes do on a day-to-day basis. And then just like how they live their lives and have to live with, okay, I just worked on this patient that just passed away, and now another one just comes in the door, and I have to be able to kind of shut that off and just move on. Like the drama of all that, and like thinking about, this isn't just a show, man. These are people's real lives. It's fascinating.
Sure. Very similar to podcasting. You finish a show and you've got a podcast on a new show. Life and death stuff, Tom. I'm with you. Okay. I have not watched it, but I'm open to it. I don't know that we're trying to sell each other on these shows, but definitely open to it, and I've heard good things.
Yep.
I'm gonna go light. You went dark. I'm gonna go light, Tom.
Okay.
I've talked about this show before. The first 3 seasons of this show are absolutely incredible. It is a group of gentlemen playing whale poop hockey in Podunk, Canada, and it's Shoresy season 4 came out last year in 25. And while I would argue 4 was not my favorite season, I will take a Shoresy season every year for the rest of my life. They're perfectly digestible. It's always like 6 episodes. They're not that long. Jared Kiso, who is of Letterkenny fame and then spun this show off to be about this guy playing minor league hockey in, once again, nowhere Canada, Sudbury. The Sudbury Blueberry Bulldogs. When I started this show, I was like, I don't know. I was like, it's kind of, it goes blue. There's like, it's a little bit crass. But
very
then
crass.
once you get like past that surface and you dive into like the true like sports story, like the heart of it all, I don't know that many shows that you think of as a comedy hit the heart in such a way that Shoresy hits. And I've rewatched the seasons multiple times. I don't know. They're dropping a 5th season this year in 26. In fact, I think they started on Christmas Day in Canada. Who knows when the U.S. will import it? I'm sure we'll put some extraordinary tax on it before we bring it in order to make us all very wealthy. I love Shoresy. This was a summer in Sudbury, so it's the off season. Very funny. You get to spend time with the team, and you get to see them develop as like mentors and coaches in this, which I think is a very interesting dynamic of them dealing with younger players and like how you coach them up, how you take care of them. And so, huge fan of Shoresy. I would recommend it to anyone that loves a good comedy and sports drama. And you just got to kind of, I don't know. You got to paddle past the crass a little bit and get into the heart of the show. It's a beautiful show.
Yeah, I could agree more. You were the one that turned me on to this show, and I think you had mentioned like it's from the creators of Letterkenny, and it's kind of like a loose spin-off of it. And I think I tried Letterkenny and couldn't get into that one, but yeah, I mean, just growing up playing sports, like the show is shot so well, and it's almost like oddly shot, where they like will linger on like a shot of the team on the ice for an extended time and just
while
like slowly
a banger,
pan out.
While something, so music that slaps, Tom, plays in the
Yes.
background while they slowly pan in. It's definitely got a cinematic style.
A lot of brilliant music. To your point about like the crassness, they've got a lot of like mom jokes kind of things that just like they threw everything on the wall when they were like writing for the show, and like we're gonna record every single one of them. So they're all like super quick hitters. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. The heart of the show, the sport of it all, it's fantastic. And to your point, easy to take in, quick episodes, and some of Canada's best work.
Oh, I agree. Huge fan of Canada. Big fan of Canada. Best import right there is Jared Kiso and Shoresy. I do want to say it's on FX. It's on Hulu. It's on Hulu. I don't know that it plays on FX, but if you're in Canada, it's on a network called Crave. So if you have Crave Canada, go ahead and watch that 5th season. But
yeah, and send it to us somehow.
Yeah, huge fan of Shoresy. Tom, what's your next one?
My next pick was, I think this is also a pretty well-liked and critically acclaimed show, won a bunch of awards, but Matt Remick is the newly appointed head of Continental Studios. Desperate for celebrity approval, he and his executive team at the movie studio must juggle corporate demands with creative ambitions as they try to keep movies alive and relevant. Julian, what is the show?
Well, I know it's the studio because you pitched this one to me, and much like a TV executive, I said, no thank you. I don't see it playing in my household. So, but it's Seth Rogen, right? It's Seth Rogen and his crew of misfits
Seth
playing
Rogen.
Hollywood.
Is it Goldberg? I can't remember his first name, but yeah, it's got like Ike Barinholtz, Catherine O'Hara, so kind of friends of the pod and previous shows that we've done in the After Party and The Last of Us.
Sure.
But did you ever get around to watching this?
I think I started the pilot and then pretty much bailed. And that's not a comment on like the quality or whether or not I wouldn't enjoy it. I think I tried it when like my family was out of town and I just threw it on and I gave it 10 minutes and then bailed. I might have even thought, I should save this for when my spouse is back, and then just never went to it. So not a comment on the quality, but no, Tom, I have not watched it.
Okay. Yeah, it almost kind of reminds me of, at least the first couple episodes for sure, of like the Michael Scott for Tots episode or whatever, where it's just so cringeworthy of like everything Seth Rogen is trying to do. You're like, oh gosh, don't do that. But he's a likable character. He's wanting to do good. He's wanting to make like good cinema, but just keeps having to bow to, whatever Hollywood is and just the silly things. Like the running thing in the show is like he's got to make the Kool-Aid movie so he can make like his dream project.
Okay.
So like
I'd love,
he's being
honestly,
forced.
is the Kool-Aid movie real? I'd love to hop in on the Kool-Aid movie. I'd love for the
so
Kool-Aid
funny.
movie to pop through the wall right now and let me watch it.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's so well shot too. It's just filled with oneers. I think there's one episode where they film it to be like one entire scene, and it goes like behind the scenes of movie sets to kind of let you see how a lot of the crew and everything kind of build these sets and how the actors kind of work with each other. Loaded with cameos, just a silly amount of them, and they're all really, really fantastic. And it's like these people are playing themselves as like Hollywood people, but like an amped up version of themselves. It's a lot of fun. And it was just a really good time. I couldn't recommend it enough. That's The Studio from Apple TV.
Okay. I love Seth Rogen's comedies. Nothing against him. I mainly like him when he's with Rose Byrne for some reason, but I'm willing
Good
to.
comedy
And
duo.
they've made 40 different shows together, so there's a lot to wade through before I get to The Studio. But I did notice there is a lot of overlap with the After Party with like Ike Barinholtz, so probably one that I would enjoy. Tom, I'm going to touch one that I think we both liked but haven't really talked about yet, and it's going to be the Netflix show that came out not too long ago called Death by Lightning. And this is, as I looked at the shows that I wrote down for this, Tom, I love a like historic drama. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, maybe it's because I spend my off time reading biographies of presidents, and for some reason I find that fascinating. But
Love it.
Death by Lightning is based on the like presidential campaign and, not to spoil it, but short presidential run of James Garfield. So this is post Civil War. It's got Michael Shannon in it, Betty Gilpin. Who a lot of Betty Gilpin in my life this last year. I also realized as I made this list.
She's fantastic.
She is great. And then I believe it's Matthew McFadden, who is a British actor who I have seen in just tons of stuff because I'm a huge fan of BritBox, and like he's in Jane Austen. He's in like the Keira Knightley Jane Austen adaptation from a number of years ago. But and I'll let you. Who else is in the show that you know and love?
Ron Swanson is in the show.
Ron Swanson.
Playing Ron Swanson.
Ron Swanson shows up as Chester A. Arthur. The whole show, it's how James Garfield got elected, once again, post-Civil War, post-U.S.'s grants, and it's a fascinating, like, political drama. It's also fascinating to just see, like, that world coming out of the Civil War and the politics at play and how he, like, without seeking it, ended up as president. And then you get the other side of the madman that eventually would, once again, spoilers, assassinate him, and that guy's life. And it's very fascinating to get both, like, assassin and how they crossed paths and how, like, it came to be that fates crossed. And so I enjoyed the show. I don't know that I needed the show to be R-rated in the way that it is R-rated. It was a little bit jarring. It felt like they modernized some of the like language and stuff, which took me out of it a couple of times. But I love a like period drama, and I find this time in U.S. history pretty fascinating. Having read, everyone should read the Ulysses S. Grant Cheer Now biography. It's fascinating to find out like post Abraham Lincoln what happened. Anyways, I'm not. That's a different podcast, Tom. That's U.S. Granting Around with Julian and Tom, where we just talk about the life and loves of U.S. Grant. But you watched the show, correct? You watched Death by Lightning?
I did. Me and my wife just recently watched this, and I think we had it like on our Netflix queue for a long time and just never got around to it. But it's another short and sweet show. It's almost like a mini series, right? It's like 4 episodes.
Yep.
They're all about an hour long, and like to me, like history shows, or that are kind of like almost documentary style. Like whenever I watch them, I always love them, but I just struggle to like hit play and start one of these series, right? But once I do, like being able to learn more about like. Yes, I knew he was our president, but I didn't really know any of the circumstances around it. And then seeing, again, Nick Offerman playing Chester Arthur and like just seeing him as like a booze hound and kind of like corrupt, but still has like a good heart. And then you kind of see, you do some research afterwards, like, yeah, Chester Arthur, when he took over, he actually did some good things as president. And it is a very fascinating show to watch. I feel like watching like the assassins kind of side of the story was, always difficult to watch because you knew like who he was and what he was ultimately going to do, and very disturbing, this man, but very, very entertaining show. And I learned some stuff. So thank you.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is like, if this had been an HBO show, it would have been like, if you've ever watched the John Adams HBO, it would have been like pretty serious, pretty like, I don't know, standard. You almost like at the end of it, you like stand up and salute. It's like a band of brothers if HBO delivered it. But because this was a Netflix show, there's like a little bit of rock and roll riffing in the background, and it's a little bit over the top, and like they're dropping F-bombs, and like I'm sure they spoke like that back in the day, but that's not typically how Ken Burns pitches this time period to us. So I think like if you enjoy history but you don't want to get into like the stiff, like boring stuff, I think this is a good happy medium where it kind of like plays it up or over dramatizes it a little bit, but still gives you like, I spent most of my time watching the show on Wikipedia being like, was this guy real? Did this really happen? And it's like, if you believe Wikipedia, which I don't, Tom, because they're constantly asking me for $2. It was pretty interesting that And this ended up being, I got a Christmas gift of a James Garfield biography, which I'm reading right now, which I find pretty fascinating. So, that was that one. Tom, what's your next one?
Before we move on, I do have to call out the incredible amount of facial hair and just hairstyles in that show was on point. And I think Nick Offerman got to use his real mutton chops. I don't think those were fake.
Oh, he grew his in like 2 days. They were like, hey, we need you. Can you grow mutton chops? And he like in the meeting was like, these mutton chops? And they were like, chops. They appeared. It was, it is incredible. And just, I mean, a lot of well-dressed people wandering around Washington, D.C. doing crazy things.
Yeah. I'm going to go with my next show. This one won't be difficult to understand what it is, but Hawaii's 4 kingdoms are divided by war. To prevent further bloodshed, a Hawaiian war chief embarks on a mission to unite his people as an existential threat approaches their shores. Julian, any ideas?
Yeah, it's like Hawaiian Punch or something like that. And then I don't know, there's a can and a guy that, I don't know, which this is the,
it's Hawaii Five-0, season 7.
Hawaii Five-0. When they all
Chief
came
of
back.
War.
Okay.
Chief of War from Apple TV.
Jason Momoa, right?
Yeah, Momoa. And I think he directed a couple episodes. He obviously starred in it, was like an executive producer, so I think definitely a passion project. But really, I feel like a show that kind of went under the radar a little bit, and it was just...
Oh, you're talking about an Apple show that they didn't market, and they just, like, threw on their service, and no one knew about or watched, Tom? You mean it was an Apple show? Incredible.
It is incredible. Yeah, they historically spend zero money on advertising. There's like 3 shows they advertise.
How does that business model work? Is it because we keep buying the phones? They're just like, hey, here's some TV shows that you get when you buy our phone. We don't, and we'd ask that you don't tell anyone about the shows. Like, please. Oh man,
it is wild. But yeah, because I feel like this show kind of came and went. But I mean, I think it's obviously dramatized, but, pretty historically accurate with the characters. It's got very much, to me, like a Game of Thrones kind of feel, but just based off of Hawaiian and native culture there. Like, all the actors are all native Hawaiians or Polynesians. They're all speaking, like, their native tongue. So there's, like, a lot of it is kind of transcribed, and you're kind of reading the subtitles, which, sometimes it kind of takes me out of a show. I'm like, I don't want to sit here and, like, have a chore to read, but like listening to Hawaiian language, like speaking long form, it was incredible and fascinating. And I think even Jason Momoa said, like, he knew some Hawaiian, but he had to go back and learn quite a bit to be able to just play his character in the show. But really cool drama, and it's kind of like all the different islands kind of at war, and Jason Momoa's kind of character kind of being forced into kind of a leadership role. Very cool. I think it drags maybe a little bit in parts and in the middle, and I think like the ending finale action sequence was really cool, but it kind of ended on a little bit of an underwhelming note. But I really, really enjoyed this show and would definitely recommend it.
Are they getting a second season? Do you know, Tom?
I think they are. I think they did leave it pretty ambiguous, or like there's essentially more to happen with his character kind of toward the end. So I think it has gotten picked up, but I'm not 100% sure.
So I have not watched this, although you and I are big proponents of undermarketed Apple TV shows. I will say a couple of things. One, having visited Hawaii a couple of times, I do find the subject matter fascinating. And I read a book not too long ago by Hampton Sides called The Wide, Wide Sea, which talks about Captain Cook meeting with the Hawaiian people that first go around and how well it all went.
He's talked about in the show. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was out on this show simply because in the preview, I think someone rides a shark. And I was like, because it was like pitched as a like historic drama about like these cultures. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like warring tribes, like I'd be in on that. The politics of those islands, and then a guy dives in and rides a shark, and I was like, ooh, Tom, I don't know if you know this about me, but when it comes to CGI animals, I have some issues, and sometimes it's a non-starter. I'm not saying I'm not going to watch this, Tom, but how often are they dino riding or riding sharks in the show?
At least twice an episode. No, that's actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because if I'm recalling this correctly, which it's been a couple months since I've watched, I think that is literally the opening of the show. And it's kind of showing Jason Momoa's character as just like
Maui.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. Being Maui, and he was like with a bunch of his guys, and they were like hunting or whatever, fishing, and it was a little bit much. It was shot really cool and looked really neat, but it was just that was kind of like the catalyst to show how awesome Jason Momoa is. But then it very quickly just gets into
Comes back to earth.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's worth a shot. I'd recommend it.
Okay, yeah. I'm all for it. I will give it a go. All right, I'm going to talk about another Netflix show. Tom, did you ever watch Department Q on Netflix?
I did not. I feel like that might also be one that's in our list or queue that we now got around to. Tell me about it.
So Department Q is set in Scotland, and the premise is...
I'm out.
Wait, Tom, let me get to you.
Okay.
Set in Scotland, Matthew Good, the actor, is a detective. He is British, but he is working in Scotland. He is coming back from essentially being shot in the line of duty, and then he is brought back to the department. And Department Q is they give him the cold cases, and so he is putting together this like mismatched team of admin workers and other cops that no one really wants to work with, and he is running cold case. And so it's him and his like Sherlock mind where he sees all the angles and he's a little bit curmudgeon-y, and then he's putting together this ragtag team, and then at the same time it's the cold case playing out of a missing woman. And so you see her side of the story intercut with them trying to figure out what happened to her. And so as a guy that loves a British mystery, a like cop drama, this was like shoot it straight into my veins. Matthew Good as an actor, you'd recognize him like he was a Downton Abbey guy. He's in a bunch of British dramas and British shows. I'm sure if you were to look up his Wikipedia, it would say like Shakespearean trained Matthew Good. Just classically handsome. And I love a curmudgeon-y detective who's like thinks he's smarter than everyone, has trouble with social cues. I would describe him as Dr. House, but solving mysteries, which is funny because I think Dr. House is based on Sherlock Holmes. I digress. Very interesting drama. Did it land the plane? Like, was it everything I wanted? Were there some times in the show where I like had to kind of turn my brain off and just accept what they were feeding me? Sure. But it's like a cold, rainy environment. There's a lot of aha moments. And he is mean to people. And he is also, guess what, Tom, dealing with a child at home that he doesn't really like and the dissolution of his marriage. Wouldn't you know it? It's not working out for him on the home front. So,
Right.
And then the other overarching thing is they have the shooting that he was involved with that he's recovering from. That mystery also is like overarching. So It's working on like 3 different levels. I really enjoyed it. Well done. Netflix show. It's called Department Q. I would recommend it.
Love it. Hearing you talk through that, it almost kind of sounds like Broadchurch. I know that was, I think, another one that you had recommended I watch with David Tennant and Olivia Colman, where he was like, kind of this grumpy detective guy, but was really smart and really good at what he did. Is it kind of seemingly in that same vein?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I think if you go to Department Q, it will be like, oh, do you also want to watch Broadchurch? I would definitely put those in line. Department Q has 1 season out. I believe it got picked up for season 2. But much like most British shows, easily digestible in terms of the amount of episodes and length. And Matthew Good is a lot of fun in the same way that David Tennant was good in that one. So, I think you'll enjoy it. Tom, what's your next one?
What is my next one? Well, before I jump to the next one, like in the vein of what you mentioned there about like British television, like one show that I have watched a lot of, and it's just kind of more of an honorable mention here, is Slow Horses. Did you ever go around and check any of those out?
I did not. It's been recommended to me a lot. I started it one time, and Gary Oldman passed gas while sleeping at his desk, and that's all I remember about the show.
Yeah, that's
for some
most of the
reason,
show.
I can get through that in Shoresy, Tom, but I couldn't get it in curmudgeon-y British Slow Horses.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I know we complained about like Pluribus like ending this last season, and then we're not going to get the next season until like 2034. The nice thing about like Slow Horses is like they will finish a season, and then when you finish the season, they'll have a trailer for the next season.
Sure.
Like it's impressive.
It's fast horses, Tom.
Yeah,
They're
really
just pumping
is.
them out. Two a year.
Yeah.
Is it like 6 episodes a season for that one as well?
Yeah, I think it's 6 episodes. They're usually, I think, under an hour, so not wildly long. And they're just kind of short, sweet stories that has an overarching thing over multiple seasons, but primarily it's just kind of like a procedural type of, they got to do an investigation, they've got to solve something.
Are they cops or are they spies? What is
They
that
work for MI5, so they're
Okay.
essentially, spies.
Gotcha.
But I digress. That's an honorable mention.
Oh, okay.
The next
Honorable
show I have
Slow Horses.
is a former college quarterback attempts a comeback by posing as a walk-on player for a struggling football team. Julian, name that movie or name that show.
Listen, I love Glenn Powell. I tried 15 minutes of the show and bounced, and so blow me away with your Chad Powers take, Tom. I'm ready.
Okay, first off, it's short. It's 6 episodes. They're about 30 to 40
There's
minutes
a real
apiece.
theme here, Tom. We're
Yes.
like, we love 6
We're old men.
episodes. What is wrong with us?
Well, I'm just saying that specifically for you. I know
Thank you.
as an audience, you want the quicker hits, but it had obviously it's a silly show. It's Glenn Powell, Matfield, I believe, or Matt Feld, and Steve Zahn. Super silly premise, based off of the Manning brothers, or Eli Manning did this as like an internet video, very similar to like Ted Lasso style. And then it just kind of became this show.
Sure.
I think it was kind of sort of compared to that. But obviously Glenn Powell is a character. He's just wildly unlikable and just a mean-spirited and crass and terrible person.
Yep.
But as the show goes on, like, it's just there is a good amount of heart that you wouldn't really expect from this show.
Are you telling me people can change, Tom? Is that what you're trying to
People
tell
can
me? Is that what this
change.
this show is trying to tell us, that people can change?
Yeah, it's exactly what they're doing. But like, I almost found myself as like maybe some of the loudest times I've laughed out loud watching shows this year have been from this show. Like, there's some really, really good laugh out loud moments that didn't think I would enjoy it or watch as much as I did. I think the main reason I started watching it is because it opens with, Chad Powers as a college quarterback running into the end zone and dropping the ball at the 1 yard line when he could have just ran in.
Sure.
And that just had recently happened to the Arizona Cardinals, our
Yep.
home football team. So
Yep.
it hit home hard. Didn't think I'd keep watching it, but my wife did, and we were not disappointed. It definitely ends abruptly. Like, it was on Hulu, so we're just like, oh, okay, we'll come back next week and watch episode 7, and then we're like, wait a minute, the show's over. Like, it was a very unsatisfying conclusion, but hopefully we'll get a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they got picked up for multiple seasons, so it'll come back for you. I'll be interested to know, like, Glenn Powell is arguably one of the biggest movie stars right now, so I find it interesting that he decided to go and do a Manning Brothers produced Hulu show.
Yeah.
So who knows how much we'll get of him in season 2, but listen, I watched the opening. It was so like he's so unlikable. It is funny, like the stuff that he does, because essentially he's a star college quarterback that's supposed to have like an NFL career coming, and then he does some things that socially are so abhorrent that he loses, the ability to go into the NFL. And so it's picking up. I guess he disguises himself to go back into the league, years
play
later.
college ball. Yeah, like because he's still eligible to play college ball, or they kind of like forge some of the documents, whatever, so he can play in college.
Tom, you and I both still have college eligibility, I believe.
We do.
So if anyone's looking for a couple of
Long snappers.
long snappers. I was going to say equipment managers, but I guess we'll take long snappers. So I guess on the comedy side, I like that. I like that pick, Tom. I'm going to continue in the comedy vein with my next one, which was, Tom, did you watch American Primeval?
I didn't. I heard a lot of mixed results on this show, and I heard it's wildly gruesome. But tell me about it. Tell me your experience.
So that's not what I would lead with. American Primeval is a Peter Berg, which I know you've got some issues with Pete Berg, but I love Pete Berg. Friday Night Lights, The Kingdom, huge fan of Pete Berg. It stars Taylor Kitsch, our guy from Friday Night Lights, Timmy Riggins, who everyone loves. Betty Gilpin also shows up in this one. And essentially it is a period piece about what they call the Utah War. in the 1800s, and it's like the settling of Utah. Brigham Young is like a self-appointed governor, and it is this woman and child trying to go through just like the worst conditions in the territory with warring factions politically, and then Native American tribes, which are being put upon, and they have to be guided by a very disgruntled, and he's got a dark background, Tom, Taylor Kitsch.
Haunted past.
Haunted past. That's right. All gold, buddy. All gold. I love Taylor Kitsch. Betty Gilpin's incredible in this. If you boiled it down, and this is like an unflattering summary of the show, is Betty Gilpin just keeps getting Taylor Kitsch into bad situations when he's constantly like, listen, lady, let's not do that. That's like an unflattering, but it's well shot. It looks cool. It is brutal, but it's also like, I think we kind of gloss over our Western expansion and that part of our history. So to watch just like how dirty and grimy and like how quickly a horse ride through a field can go bad. And Peter Berg does a great job shooting action. So I think all of those, the history of it all, the acting, how it looks, it's not like, there's definitely some like gruesome parts, but it was not so over the top that I was like, oh, I'm out on this. They're just glorifying it. I think part of it is just trying to be realistic. Definitely just like The Pit, Tom. They're trying to pitch us the same message. But American Primeval on Netflix, I would recommend if you like kind of an epic historic drama. And if you certainly have some affinity for Tim Riggins from Friday Night Lights, you can watch him just get mad and grumpy and tomahawk people, which is fun.
Love it. Excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, my knowledge of the Wild West comes from Back to the Future 2.
Sure.
Or 3, excuse me. Back to the Future 3. So it seems like a pretty cool place to be.
How many scalpings were there in Back to the Future 3, Tom? Did he scalp several people?
Not a lot. There were assumed scalps, but you didn't actually see it on camera.
Oh, sure. Implied scalps, I believe, is the term in show business. All right, Tom, let's each touch on, you got one more for what you enjoyed, and then we'll move on to the next category.
I got one more quick one, and I'll stick with Netflix. So this is, in the vast expanse of Yosemite National Park, a woman's death draws a federal agent into lawless terrain where nature obeys no rules but its own. Julian, do you know this show?
I'm assuming it's Smoke, or it's the book the guy in Smoke was writing. Our buddy Dave was writing in Smoke. Yeah.
No, it is not. It is Untamed with Eric Bana, Sam Neill, Lily Santiago, Rosemary DeWitt. It was a really, really fun show. Like I thought it was just. Let's not say fun. Like beautiful show. Like, because this whole thing is shot in Yosemite National Park. Like just the vistas and the views and this guy playing like this ranger of the park trying to solve this mystery. It's a super fun and enjoyable whodunit with some like good twists, and then there's like some bonus twists at the very end in the finale. It was probably not the greatest show out there. I think it did get renewed for a season 2, but it was a fun show, a fun little whodunit. I think relatively quick, only a handful of episodes, and you would love it because I'm pretty sure it's loaded with CGI animals.
CGI animals, that's what I was going to ask, Tom. At least the trees are real. Like I can kind of make if the trees are real but the animals are CGI'd, I'll make some concessions. I love Eric Bana. I don't know what his career like trajectory, I don't know what happened there, but I go back and like he'll pop up in Troy, he'll pop up in Black Hawk Down. And you're just like, why wasn't Eric Bana a bigger thing? I don't know if you've ever looked at Eric Bana's background, but he started in like comedy. I think he's Australian, right? He started in like a sketch comedy show in Australia. And you're like, that's one of the most handsome guys in the world. Why is he doing sketch comedy in Australia? Like, that
when I said incredible scenery, I didn't mean Yosemite. I meant Eric Bana.
He just meant Eric Bana. Oh man.
But he of course has a haunted past that he's got to deal with while he's trying to solve this murder. Yeah, it's great. Fun time.
Yeah, no, of all the shows focused on Yellowstone, I'm sure Untamed is the number one in people's hearts these days. So,
or I might have said Yellowstone. It's Yosemite National Park. Is that considered Yellowstone?
Sorry. Who knows, Tom? We don't. It's all going to be parking lots soon anyway, so it doesn't matter. Let me finish with a funny one, Tom, and I think you and
Please.
I will share the love of this. And if you are looking for 45 minutes to an hour of laughter, go watch on HBO Conan Must Go. He's got old ones where it was called like Conan Without Borders, but on HBO, Conan O'Brien did a travel show. And this year, I think it was like season 2, and by that I mean in 2025, he went to Spain, he went to New Zealand, and one of the things I think is always fun is partway through the episode, he will wind up like meeting up with another celebrity. And on the Spain one, he meets up with Javier Bardem. Javier Bardem for me is is death incarnate in No Country for Old Men. Just one of the scariest. He shows up in your life and your life is over. Javier Bardem is an absolute delight. He's very funny. He's messing with Conan and putting Conan. Yeah. Conan is always willing to be the butt of the joke, which I love. Yeah. And he puts himself in these situations in foreign countries where it's just an absolute riot. If you need some joy in your life, go watch Conan Must Go on HBO. It's an incredible amount of fun. If you don't like Conan's comedy, I can't help you. I don't know why you're listening to this podcast. It's absurd. I don't know. You have watched Conan Must Go because we've discussed these, Tom. So I feel like you're also on board with this one.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Conan's podcast. He has that very unique sense of humor, just wacky, wild, and insane. And whenever he goes to these places, he just immerses himself in this culture, and he pokes fun at it. But he's poking fun at himself more than anything. You're not watching the show to learn anything about these places, but it's a lot of fun. I would almost argue the Must Go's were good. Was it HBO? Is that what those are on? Mm-hmm. But I think his Conan Without Borders, some of the earlier ones he did for either TBS or whatever, those are really, really good too. Less celebrity kind of cameos and stuff in it, but he's fantastic. Watch him. Yeah,
I mentioned the celebrity cameos just because I was laughing so hard at Javier Bardem, but him just dealing with a local populace, him willing to he always goes to someone to teach him the language or the slang, and he inevitably starts over the top hitting on whatever woman is teaching him it's in another person's hands it's creepy and Conan gets canceled in 5 years, but in Conan's hands it's just this guy's an absolute goof.
In the conceit of this show, the Conan Must Go, it's based off the podcast, right? Conan O'Brien needs a fan. So he's going and actually visiting fans that they had previously podcasted and he had talked to before, right?
Yep. So he gets to meet some normal people. If Conan showed up at my door, I wouldn't know what to do. I'd wet myself and forget who I was,
Take him quail hunting.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that's not bad. I'm not coming back with all my limbs if I go quail hunting with Conan. Any other ones you want to touch on before we move into the shows that we bailed on, which is the category I'm very adept at?
No, yeah, please go on. I think, those were all really good shows. I think there was a lot of good stuff that kind of came out last year, and hopefully some good stuff kind of coming out this year. Again, we haven't really picked a pod to start 2026, but I'm sure we'll get something soon. So, let's jump to shows we bailed on. I feel like you're going to have more than I do, so you start us off.
Wonderful. So we have shows that we bailed on, and
how many you got? First off, how many shows you got?
I've got 4 listed, but I just wanted to point out that you've already talked about some shows that I bailed on.
Okay, great.
I'm going to start.
I only have 2 for what it's worth, so I'll probably just do my 2 together.
Sure, that's fine. You can do whatever you want, Tom. There's no rules here. Just right. We're like Applebee's. I think that was their slogan. All right, Alien Earth. Tom, this was an FX show. It is an FX show. I love the Alien franchise. I came to it late. I think we've talked about it before. It's a great horror / sci-fi. Ridley Scott did the first one. There's a lot of great Alien movies. They get worse as you go on, but the first 3 all gold. Anyways, when this show came out, I was like, cool. They're going to give me an Alien movie and a TV show, and it's going to be horror sci-fi. They're going to put a bunch of dudes in an area, and an alien's going to show up, and they're going to have to run away and survive. Cool. Not what this show is. Did you try this show, Tom? Did you try Alien Earth?
Watched it all, my man.
Okay. Well, before I insult you, did you like it, Tom?
I want you to get to your point. I think it wasn't necessarily my favorite show. It was still shot incredibly well as an FX show. It like definitely had the feel of a movie. But I'm with you. It took some turns that I wouldn't have expected or necessarily have wanted. But tell me more about your experience.
Give me aliens ripping people to pieces and them screaming and them not being able to be heard because you can't scream in space or whatever the slogan is. I love Timothy Olyphant. I don't know why we bleach blonde his or like whited his eyebrows as well as his hair. I wanted to like this. I think we watched 2 or 3 episodes. Maybe we just didn't get far enough to when the alien starts eating people, but I did not need like the backstory about surrogates and like transferring souls from body to body. It just got into a lot more of the lore of aliens, and I did not care for it, Tom.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like it kind of took some of the horror-ish elements that I think we all like loved in the first couple movies and kind of turned it, which again, it's a TV show. They're trying to turn into a bigger, more arcing story, but focusing more so on these like, I think they were like kids' minds being transferred into these like surrogate, like robot hybrid style bodies. It's an interesting concept, but not why I come to an alien movie or show. So I'm with you. Not necessarily my favorite. I know it did get picked up for a season 2. We'll probably keep going with it, but I can understand why you bailed.
Sure. Now, I'm going to go again, Tom. And this one is, this is one I'm admitting mainly out of shame. We did not finish Task. We bounced on Task.
We thought about potting on Task.
I know. So Task, huge HBO show. I thought it was incredible. There was some parts that dragged, but I loved Mayor of Easttown. I love listen to people in Pennsylvania accent say water. I enjoyed it. Unfortunately, HBO cracked down on password sharing. So we lost access to Task. We were stealing Task, and then the authorities came in and they said, you cannot steal Task anymore. And so we bailed on Task. And I just don't have it in the heart to pay $200 for a year of HBO, which I'm probably going to have to do for this year. But we bailed on Task. I'm not happy about it. I do want to go back and rewatch it. In fact, One Battle After Another, I believe, is on HBO. And so between that and finishing Task, HBO may get some of my money, which let's just go back to cable. That's what we're trying to do. I would love to just go back to cable.
Yeah, I love paying for all these services and then still having to watch all these commercials. It's great. I feel like with HBO, it's one that, that's a subscription service that kind of comes and goes for me because I feel like they've got some good shows and a handful of movies, but then it's kind of quiet for a while. So like I've dropped subscription and brought it back in. I feel like every year my wife and I just like around like Black Friday weekend is when they have all these like streaming deals like, hey, get it for a year for only X amount. So that's usually when we set up a new email account and renew it for another year. Oh, so that'd be what I'd recommend because I think we have HBO on the relative cheap. Still got the ads, but for the relative cheap.
If you're listening from HBO, don't come after Tom for all of his burner email accounts so that he can get that first-time customer discount.
Exactly.
It's not worth it. He's running through the woods of Pennsylvania trying to escape the authorities right now. Don't crack down on his stuff.
But I mean, I did watch it. My wife and I both watched it all. It was good. To me, it's not one that I feel like I'm going to like remember or go back. It was like a fine enough experience, but it didn't necessarily blow me away. And I'm kind of glad we didn't pod on it because I think it was relatively straightforward. There wouldn't have been a whole lot to dive too deep into. So
got it. Well, that's good to know. I'm glad there was no regrets. Tom, do your 2.
Yeah, I've got 2 listed here, and the first one is Murderbot from Apple TV. This was one of the Skarsgårds, Alex Skarsgård, maybe, I don't know which one. But it's got 2 of my favorite things: murder and bots.
Sure.
So like I figured this was going to be right up my alley, and it has a very interesting conceit and premise of like he's a robot and he essentially cracks some of the like code, and now he's like sentient and can think for himself. But all he wants to do is be left alone and watch his shows. It's a very kind of funny conceit. But I just found myself not being gripped by the characters or the storyline. As I'm an old man, I start just falling asleep as I was watching the show, waking up midway through and be like, the credits are rolling. I'm like, oh yeah, what did we just watch? 'Cause my wife, I think, probably watched it more than I did. So yeah, never got back around to it. I've heard it's good. I've heard it got good praises. And I'm not sure if it got picked up for another season, but yeah, Murderbot, couldn't get into it. Did you check that one out?
No, I didn't. I mean, this was another Apple show that just popped up one day, and they were like, hey, we spent $4 billion on this show. Would you like to watch it? And I was like, no, thanks. And Apple's like, cool. We'll have another show for you in a week that will surprise you. So, no, I did not watch Murderbot. I mean, I do like Skarsgård. I think he's great. Him and I, similar body types, you know?
Yes, agreed.
But
he's got a couple inches on you.
Sure. But I make up for that in platform
Curves.
shoes, Tom.
Oh,
so
okay.
Did you say curves? Did you say curves? How dare you, sir?
I said curves, but I like curves better.
Well, I was just looking to get offended, so it didn't really matter what you said. All right, Tom, what was 2 for you?
The other show that we bailed on, and again, I'm sure we bailed on other shows this year, but one that came to mind was...
Tom, this is documented. Like, this is going to have to hold up in court, so we're going to need a list of every show you bailed on.
Okay. My wife did make mention that as I was asking her about like shows she enjoyed for 25, she said she's going to start making a list for both shows, movies, and books that she, consumed during the year to be able to kind of remember and then do her own little internal rating system. So look for that to come out soon.
Yeah, I hope that gets published. I'd love to review it.
But my next one it's season 2 of the Netflix show Wednesday. I felt like we watched the first season, and it's obviously geared toward like a younger audience. It still is kind of pretty like gory and dark. Obviously, it's based off the Addams Family.
Sure.
But we had a fun time with the first season, and I think the way they dropped the second season was like in 2 parts, where they have like, here's 4 episodes now, wait a couple months, or wait a month, and then we'll drop the other 4, like they recently did with Stranger Things. And we watched the first 4, got to the next set, came out, and we're like, I have no interest to go back and see how the story ends. It was just not compelling for me. I didn't seem to really get into it and like any of the new characters that they were kind of introducing. So yeah, Wednesday season 2, had to bail.
Sure. It's interesting because that first season was like a phenomenon. Like she was a Halloween
the dance
costume
and everything. Yeah,
everything was big. And then I didn't even know there was a season 2. Tom, I did not watch it. I don't have any interest. I don't have a lot of love, and I mean, we'll pod on one of these shows in like a year so everyone can send this clip to me. I don't have a lot of love of them being like, hey, you remember this like kind of comedy, family-friendly thing from the 50s? Well, now we've made it like gritty and bold. And now like when Nancy Drew shows up and they're like Nancy Drew's like solving serial killer stuff, like if Scooby-Doo showed up and he was like ripping heaters and he was like, man, there's a lot of dead bodies in that trunk. Like I don't need that in my world. So
Agreed.
I didn't have any interest in Wednesday when it showed up the first time. And when it showed up the next week, I said no thank you to Wednesday again. So but I'm sorry that you bailed on it, Tom.
Yeah,
I think,
it's okay.
Did you love the Addams Family growing up? Were you you just loved that weird family?
No, not really. I mean, certainly not the original like black and white TV show. I feel like I watched maybe some of the movies, like Addams Family Values. I would watch a bunch when I was a kid. I had a big crush on Christina Ricci and still kind of do.
Sure.
But yeah, other than that, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, the last one I want to talk about, Tom, and I don't know if we share this one, but did you try Stick with Owen Wilson on Apple, the golf show?
I did not. We heard a lot of listeners reach out and say, hey, this is kind of Ted Lasso adjacent. I think you had watched the first episode and kind of made me a little bit leery of even trying to start it.
Oh, don't put that on me, Tom. We'll definitely get emails. If they know that I'm the one that talked you out of it, I'm going to get emails at teambingepodcast@julian.com. Just put in the subject line, don't read this, Julian, and then I'll know.
At julian.com?
Yeah, is that what I said? Whatever, at
That's
gmail.com.
what you said. That's great.
Sorry, I was thinking about me, which I'm normally doing.
I think from a podcast perspective, though, I think this show, we were either mid-podcasting on something else or you were on vacation, I was on vacation. There was a reason why we could not pod on this show. Otherwise, I do think it would have been up our alley.
Sure. I watched the first episode, and it had promise, and then it ended in such a way that I was like, oof, I don't know. I don't know that I need that in my life. Just from a, like, emotional... Like, guess what? Troubled past, Tom.
Haunted past.
And he wasn't getting traded from the Yankees to the Mets. You know what I mean? I don't know. I know people liked it. I'm not saying I won't go back to it, but I tried Stick. I popped smoke on it and moved on. So that was the last one. Tom, let's finish up with this. There are shows that come out in the year that are relatively new that we try out. They're like part of the zeitgeist, whatever. And then there are shows that you're like, I've got 45 minutes, I've got an hour, and then I'm going to bed. And I just throw it on as comfort food. And I think like a common one would be The Office. Like we all fell asleep to the stupid theme song to The Office at one point or another in our lives. But I found this year, like there were a couple of shows that me and my wife returned to when we had like nothing going on, or it was just like fun to hit like 3 episodes of a sitcom and then go to bed. And so I'm calling this comfort food. Tom, did you have a comfort food pick for 2025?
A couple. My wife and I have been doing kind of some rewatches of either some old shows or shows that like were sitcoms that she got around to kind of watching, but I never did. So she's kind of like taking me back through them. So one we did this past year was like Superstore from NBC.
Okay.
Like it wasn't anything too crazy. Like it's not The Office, and it certainly kind of tries to be in some facets, but it was a lot of fun. Like there's fun little characters. They're quick hits. You can kind of get in and out of them. And it's kind of something that we would do like at the lunchtime hour. We both work from home, so we're able to, get lunch, sit down, pop a show on. And that was a really fun one. I definitely recommend people going back and checking it out.
The premise is like a crew at a Walmart, right? Or like
exactly.
A Walmart
big box
adjacent.
store. Exactly. Yeah. And then just kind of all the shenanigans and like office romances and dealing with customers and a lot of just silly plot lines. It's funny too, because I remember watching it, like they steal a lot of plot lines directly from The Office. It's kind of comical, but it's NBC, so I guess they're just sharing the IP. And then another show that we are actually currently watching in the middle of is Malcolm in the Middle. It was a show that I never watched kind of growing up. I love me some Bryan Cranston. He's obviously incredible as like Breaking Bad. I know him probably more from his dramatic acting, but he's obviously a very fantastic comedic presence, and he's so good, as is the rest of the characters on that show. It's definitely a show that I think of the time, like when they came out, there's some hits, there's some misses, but for the most part, it's a pretty fun, entertaining show. So those were, I think, the two we've been kind of watching and binging throughout the year that come to mind. What about you?
That's funny. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Malcolm in the Middle. I can't say I've seen every episode, but I definitely watched it when it was on TV and then when it was on like syndication. And then I'm sure we've talked about, you and I come from similar like sibling relationships where we're families of all boys. Yep. So I think it's funny that Malcolm in the Middle, like it would have touched your family in a way of like the oldest brother, the youngest brother, a middle brother, all of those things.
I feel like mine growing up was more like a Home Improvement kind of thing.
Sure.
Like we would watch that because they had a similar-ish dynamic, because I'm one of the 3 boys from my family. So yeah, but yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm Malcolm in my family. It falls in line, and there's a lot of parallels. Other than I'm not bright, so I didn't have the same trajectory as Malcolm. But yeah, I remember watching that show, and there are just some episodes that absolutely hit and were a joy to watch. And I've probably talked about this before, I found last year we returned to Modern Family, which is obviously a like huge hit. It ran for a lot of seasons. I have a soft spot in my heart for like the first 4 or 5 seasons. I find that in sitcoms like that, when the kids get to be of an age where they're less cute and they're like teenagers or like older than that, it kind of loses some of its charm. But we watched a lot of Modern Family, and I think it's on FX right now or Hulu. It is a show that you can go back and it still hits. It's like a joke a minute. The characters are fun. And so Modern Family was one
show
of
was
ours.
Coming out like during like the sorry to interrupt. Like that show was like coming out like during like Office fame, right? Where it had the idea of like the little confessionals, like Office, Parks and Rec, that kind of thing around the same time. Yeah,
I think so. I don't remember the exact timing, but I mean, it's got Julie Bowen in it, and so it's just a wonderful, wonderful time. I like to think that Married with Children, he left that family and started Modern Family, and there's some overlap there.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. I'll finish with this one, and then if you've got one to close out, by all means, Tom. I have talked about being a huge fan of BritBox. Now, if you don't know what BritBox is a British streaming service where they take all these like unknown British shows and they throw them onto a streaming service. And I grew up on Masterpiece Theater, which was like on PBS night on like Saturdays. It was just something like our family watched. And inevitably, they were all like Agatha Christie shows. They're like hour-long Agatha Christie mysteries. Well, they did a whole series on Hercule Poirot. And me and my wife have been going back. They're like an hour long, 45 minutes long. It's like a mystery on its own. So, and they're done in the British way. So it's like you get all the facts, and then at the end, everyone's brought into the room, or like the group gathers, and it's like, it's not you, but it might be you, and it's not you, but it's definitely you. And the detective like solves all the mystery and puts all the clues together. So it's almost like interactive in the sense that you can get to the last 10 or 5 minutes and like have a guess. And so huge fan. And I'm sure it's playing on other things, but the old miniseries Hercule Poirot or any of the Agatha Christie ones are a lot of fun if you're looking for a little interactive TV that you don't have to think too hard on.
When did those come out? Are they like kind of like dated, or is it a handful of years ago?
Oh, they're definitely dated, but it's a period piece. So like it's done between like World War I and World War II. So it's a little bit timeless in the fact that you don't have to be like, wait, wouldn't a cell phone solve this? It's it's done during that time period. So they're pretty timeless. But I think they came out in like the late 80s all the way up to the 2000s. It was spread over time. The credits definitely have like a strong 80s vibe where they just figured out they could put computer graphics up. It looks like the design that was printed on our cafeteria cups. But anyways, huge fan of those old like Masterpiece Theater British Agatha Christie shows.
Love it. Yeah, I guess I'll close it out and just say, like, going back to the show that started this whole podcast adventure, Ted Lasso. Like, that's
you
a
went
show
back?
that, I've been going back, like, when, like, my wife is out and we can't, like, watch a show together at, like, lunchtime. It's just an easy show that I can kind of pop in the background. I'm not necessarily paying attention to, like, everything, because obviously that show is, like, a joke a minute kind of thing. But it's been fun. I think I went back and like watched the Christmas episode at the end of last year. And then when I went into Apple, it was just like, hey, do you want to continue watching Ted Lasso? So I'm like, yes, I sure do. So I ended up watching all of season 2 on season 3 where Zava just got introduced. Good old Zava.
Yeah. But a critical part of Ted Lasso for 2 episodes.
Exactly. But I mean, everything that we loved and potted about, way back when, it's all still there. The comedy, the heart, the fantastic and brilliant characters, fantastic show, definitely worth multiple rewatches, and excited to see that show kind of come back for a 4th season, even though it doesn't necessarily need more seasons.
Yeah.
I think it finished its story. It is certainly a show that I think is going to come back with a new angle, and I am sure that'll be a show we'll repod on.
I'm always nervous when we revisit something that's beloved, especially a show that I felt was stronger like seasons 1 and 2 than 3. So
Agreed.
But I'm glad you're enjoying it. I have thought about rewatching it. Maybe I will go back and run through season 1 at least again.
I did skip the beard episode though.
You did?
It was in order. I'm like, I don't need it.
Nice. I'm sure he enjoyed that. Well, for those of you that listened through this episode, we appreciate you. If you have recommendations, part of the reason we did this is we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear kind of in the vein of what we've talked about. If you have similar interests or there's a show out there, I mean, there's tons of shows, and I'm sure we miss them. But if you've got recommendations, please reach out at teambingepodcast@gmail.com, or Tom will cover the socials. You're welcome to send suggestions through there. We are in hiatus until we pick up the next show, which we're not necessarily ready to announce. But if you'd like some say in it and there's a show coming up you think would be fun for us to cover, by all means, teambingepodcast@gmail.com. Tom, what did I miss?
Yeah, follow us on the socials at Team Binge or at Team Binge Podcast on the Twitters, on the Instagrams, on the Blue Skies, all the big ones. I would love to be able to know from our listeners, like, what were some of the shows that we maybe didn't talk about on this that you would recommend, or some new shows kind of coming up. I think there's not a whole lot of new stuff coming out in January, so we'll kind of keep our eye on what's kind of coming down the pipeline. But yeah, if you're still enjoying our shenanigans and haven't went to like Apple Podcasts or Spotify to rate or review us, we would always greatly appreciate that. And as always, while we're in this hiatus, go check out our back catalog. We talked through a handful of shows that we have covered. And Julian, when we started the Ted Lasso podcast, if you would have told me we would be this many shows in terms of finishing and completing multiple seasons of podcasts, I would say you're crazy. But
you would have said we're behind the curve. We should have done more. I agree, Tom. I think we're underachieving. Thank you. Thank you for pushing us in the way that you have. No, it's been a great joy. I appreciate you sharing. I'm definitely, some of these shows that you mentioned, I will give a go. And then maybe in the end of 2026, if we're all still alive, we'll talk through whether or not it was a good or bad recommendation. But for Team Binge, I have been Julian.
And I have been Tom. Till next week, everybody.